Hello and welcome back to Goatcast episode 9. We haven't recorded one of these in a minute. The last one we did was for Book of Boba Fett, and that was back in quarter one of 2022. It is now 2023. Good start. We're bringing back everyone's favorite show on the channel, Goatcast, very popular one, a lot of views. And today we're going to be talking about the sequel to Zach's favorite movie of all time. We're going to be talking about The Way of Water, Avatar 2, the sequel.
I feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on me with this being my favorite movie of all time.
Well, I had this discussion with you last year, but it was a video basically titled the highest grossing movie ever made that nobody remembers. And you immediately jumped on me and said, hey, that's my favorite movie ever. And
no, I said it's one of. It's like in my top 5, I'd give it.
Yeah, so your favorite movie of all time. So the bar for this sequel was, I'm pretty sure, was high for you. I mean, it's been 13 years since the first movie came out, and the last time I watched Avatar was renting it from Blockbuster. So some of you might not even know what that is. So it's been a minute since that movie came out. James Cameron did not want to make a sequel until technology had caught up, and I guess he was like, it's caught up. So he filmed 2 and 3 back to back, and they filmed some of number 4, and they're making 5 of them, I guess. And
which I'm excited for.
Yeah. So initial general thoughts, no spoilers. Zach, what did you think of Way of Water?
Good. I'll say good.
Good?
I'll say good. Yeah.
Yeah, was it on par with your favorite movie of all time?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I thought the beginning is too fast, the middle is too long, and the ending is repetitive. But I really liked it. It was definitely one of the better movies of last year. You know, technically, if James Cameron waited this long for technology, it's like, because I rewatched the first movie before seeing the second one, and it still holds up really well, like, effects wise. And
no, the first one's a good movie.
Yeah, but watching this one, there is a significant jump. Like, things look incredible, like, skin textures and lighting. I think the lighting's a big thing with this one compared to the first movie.
Yeah, especially with all the like aquatic scenes and everything that's going off there.
No, I know you haven't seen it, but I saw Wakanda Forever, and they have some underwater stuff, and that just kind of gets like blown away by the stuff in this. Like it's so much more like detailed. And
Wakanda Forever looked a lot like the Aquaman movie, and
yeah, it's more on that level. While this one was just like they were definitely showing off. There was a couple shots of the underwater stuff where it really like lingered for a while, kind of showing off in a way. Yeah. So you want to give like a synopsis of the movie's plot, like a quick little catch everyone up to speed.
So the plot. So Jake Sully and Neytiri, they kicked all the Earth humans off. Well, most of them. I guess some stayed.
Yeah, some were allowed to stay.
Some stayed. Norm got to stay. Humans return. They have a new mission. Jake starts a guerrilla war with the humans. Then it's hard to summarize it because there's like pieces and points where like I'm upset that they did this, but Quaritch comes back as an avatar with his squad, captures his kids. They leave to another tribe.
Spoilers.
They learn the way of water. Quaritch captures the kids again. There's a big fight, and then the movie ends.
Yeah. That is basically, so the humans leave. Jake Sully is living his new life as a blue cat person, and he has a bunch of kids. This is all glossed over in the beginning, where it's almost like kind of trying to catch you up to speed from the first movie, because it's been 13 years since that movie came out, and I think it's been 13 years in the universe as well, I think.
So when we got to the theater, we had a mishap.
Yeah, what's up?
We had a mishap at the theater.
Okay.
And we had to rebuy our tickets, so we missed like the first couple minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when I sat down, it was a 5-year jump.
Oh shit, you missed the whole recap at the start. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna fill you in.
I'm a little hazy on that bit of it.
I'm gonna fill you in. So basically, Jake starts talking about how the humans left, and he's living with the Na'vi people, and they had their firstborn, who I can't remember the name to. There were too many kids. So he has his firstborn.
Neteyam was the oldest son.
So he has Neteyam, and then he has Chaklock. That's
Loak?
Loak. Okay. So Loak and Neteyam, and he has those kids, and then they quickly gloss over the fact that Grace, Sigourney Weaver's character, who died in the first movie, dead Avatar
And a daughter.
body, had a baby. So it had a Virgin Mary conception with no father, and is this girl named Kat? Is it something like that? Kate? Kat?
Kiri?
Kiri. And Kiri is just Sigourney Weaver playing a 14-year-old version of herself.
Which I think she did a very good job.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know it was her until after the fact.
Yeah,
But-
only Sigourney Weaver could do that.
But they just quickly gloss over the fact that this Avatar had a baby, and they're just like, and anyway, then we had another kid, and I was like, wait, hang on. Wait, back up. It's like, it had a what now? And they have another
So
kid. There's
they
a little
had-
little kid, another girl. And,
Tuck.
And then they explain, Took. There's a human kid who is with the scientist that stayed. His name is Spider, and he's got dreadlocks, and he just runs out into the forest, and he just hangs out with them. And then,
They called him Monkey Boy through the whole movie, and I was like,
but they have all these kids, and then him and Neytiri have a date night where they just kind of hang out and look at the stars. And then one of the stars happened to be ships decelerating, and then they land on the planet and fucking scorch Earth the whole thing and destroy all.
yeah,
the
I did see
wildlife.
that part.
And then it just cuts to 5 years later. But they quickly just get back to humans are on the planet and they're trying to steal their land. Like, we're right back to that,
Yeah.
And Jake is running a resistance. Basically, like you said in your quick synopsis, Colonel Quaritch, is that how you say his last name? Or his first name? I don't know.
Quaritch?
Quaritch? Yeah. The villain
Quaritch?
from Scott Lang's character. Not Scott Lang, that's Ant-Man. Stephen Lang? Is that the actor's name?
Stephen Lang is his name, yes.
Yeah, okay. But anyway,
Scott Lang.
so he comes back as an avatar, and I barely watched any marketing for this movie, so when it revealed that it was him, I started laughing because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
One, because he's such a fun villain from the first movie. He's very underrated because rewatching it's like, wow, he's entertaining. I feel like it needed some kind of personal stakes, so bringing him back makes sense. I'm notorious for the fact that I don't like bringing characters back from the dead, so
Right.
it does bother me, but it's an interesting way to do it. Because in a way, it's almost like they're an unstoppable force. Because if you kill him, they could just bring him back again, I'm assuming.
Right.
So that's an interesting concept, but I still don't like bringing characters back from the dead. And then also on top of that, I think it's weird that the character of Quaritch would agree to that, even though in the first movie he hates the Na'vi. So why would he be like, yeah, go ahead and download my brain so you can put me in one of those? So
Yes.
in the fact that I die, like that doesn't seem to add up to me. I don't think he would have wanted that.
No, I do not think he would agree to that.
Yeah.
He might allow them to like record his brain, but I don't think he would agree to be put into an avatar.
Yeah, but even recording his brain, the idea is like, oh, in case you die. And it's like, and they do make mention in the movie that the pretended like scene that happened that didn't happen, the added in scene of that process. He's like, but that won't happen. We won't be killed. We'll reconvene
Right.
in hell. And it's like, it's a fun line, but at the same time, it's like, I just don't think he would go through with that. It just doesn't
No,
seem like
but
it
I
fit
did
his
like when he's
character.
recording the video, he's like talking down to himself as an avatar.
He's like, you
I
won't
feel
be
like
as
he did a
handsome,
good job
blah,
like
blah,
staying
blah.
in character, being like, you're dumb and blue.
Yeah. But doing that, like at the same time, I thought was a cool way to bring him back. So I'm mixed about that. I feel like it's
I liked what they did with his character throughout the movie, because you can tell that there's something bugging him, like there's something just underneath like the exterior that like he's struggling with understanding something.
like he's re-looking at his life because he's died, and now he's like rethinking things. It seems like.
Well, he when he's we're gonna get into a little bit of spoiler here.
Oh, we're
when
already
he's talking
into spoilers. We're
to
talking about the.
Oh, well, I guess yeah. When he's in the interrogation room talking to Spider, he's like, "I'm not him. I've got his memories and his like this and that, but I'm not him."
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to grasp like who he is on top of having all the memories of the Colonel,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an
And-
interesting thing about that, and you brought up Spider. To get a little bit into that, it's kind of like, how do we give this guy more of a character? Oh, he has a son. It's like it's very like, and that's another thing where it's like there's just now a son, like that wasn't in the first movie, and they're like, no, he was there, and it's like I feel like that would have been brought up. Like that's just something you don't just gloss over. Like, oh yeah, he's got a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Quaritch would have been the type of guy to be like, "Oh, look at my kid." Like, They even talk about like he's a shitty dad. Like he
Yeah, but it's very much so a movie trope where it's like, oh, he has a son now. How do we give
right.
him character?
And I feel like they revealed that far too early.
Yeah,
And
there's
in the way that they reveal, like he's like, sometimes not knowing who your dad is the better thing, and he's like, I'm fine, and it's just like moody teenager like skulks off.
yeah, very very generic like dialogue setup. There was another part before that where Kiri was laying in the grass and she's like, "Oh, was I doing that thing again?" And it's just like, I feel like I've heard this line in other movies. Like it's just a very
Yeah,
generic way of speaking. And he's just like, "Oh, it's sometimes not. It's good not knowing who your dad is." And it's just like, what is with this? This is all very like cliche dialogue right now.
yeah, very like Disney Channel
Yeah.
script writing.
What gets the momentum of the plot going is Jake's got this whole resistance going on, and then these evil avatars show up with Korch and all these soldiers that died in the first movie. There's like the bald guy that gets stepped on in the mech suit. There's the evil pilot lady, or I guess she was just a soldier lady. I just remember her like ripping Jake out of the pod in the first movie.
Quick question:
Yeah.
the bald guy that gets stepped on, is he the guy that gives Daredevil his armor?
No, I don't think so. They don't look the same.
All right, I'm just getting my bald guys mixed up.
Yeah, too many bald guys. Either way, they decide because now the humans, instead of wanting to take the resources of Pandora, the unobtainium, one of the greatest fictional materials ever created.
Yeah.
They just want to colonize the planet, which I'm okay with because it's like you gotta like sure the humans would come back if this is a resource they really need, but they describe Earth in the first movie as just dead. So why would they just not come back to Pandora, even though they can't breathe the air? But they're showing like they're building a colony there. There's this
they're building a colony. Eventually, the terraform and this that.
And there's like this general lady now. I think she's supposed to be like the overarching villain now.
I despise what they did with her.
You despise? She was barely in it.
Exactly. Well, not exactly, but the scenes that she was in is just mirroring what Quaritch did in the first movie. Like she has a cup of coffee in her hand.
Oh yeah, she's definitely fitting the evil army person vibe.
It was just like copy paste. It's like they didn't do anything with her character. They didn't do anything.
There's a lot of things in this that are very similar to the first movie. A very generic, run-of-the-mill story, but with really cool effects.
The story of the first movie is very cohesive. It's very followable.
Well, it's like Pocahontas, but with blue people.
Give or take. But it just felt like we said what the main story was, but there's also 7 other side stories that are happening.
This is something that bothered me because Korch and the Blue Avatar hit squad is sent out to kill Jake Sully because he's the main leader. He's Rukht Makto, from the first film. Turok Makto. They decide to go hunt him down. They capture his kids at one point, and then Sully just like immediately is like, all right, screw this whole operation and protecting the Na'vi people. I'm going to keep my kids safe. I'm out of here. Which just talking about how I don't feel like Korch would have made a decision like that. Same with Jake. Just the fact that he's just upend and leaves. It's just so like abrupt. Doesn't fit. Like I get it's been a long time. He's got kids now. He's more thinking about his fatherly duties, which I like that they, made him a strong father character. I think they needed to do something with his character because he's kind of boring. He's not the greatest character ever, but this was enough to give him something else where I was like, I'm glad they did that because if they didn't, he would just be generic army dude.
Right.
For him to just upend and leave so quickly and just like, oh, we're going to bring our problems to a different tribe. It's like, it doesn't seem like something he'd do. Like, it just seemed like to get to the water people. Like, let's just go.
Yeah, so when they destroy the train and they're getting cargo, like his 2 sons have a near-death experience.
Yeah, they be a bunch of little jackasses. They fly down where they're not supposed to be.
And like that scares him. So now he's like, well, that was out of my hands. I can't protect them. And then he's like, we got to get out of here. And he leaves, and we don't hear anything about the guerrilla fighters ever again.
No, because like the minute they, after he gets scared by Quarch, they just leave all the tree people.
I take that back because Norm and
yeah, but that's not
Doctor.
Enough. Because even the fact that Quarch starts hunting him towards the ocean tribes, and there's never scenes of them interacting with the forest tribe, which seems to be the big threat against the humans. Like, it seems to be the main force that's fighting them.
Right.
It's like, why would they just give up on fighting? Like, I don't know. Because we get into a little bit of like the character of Spider, because that kid gets captured and it is Quaritch's biological son, the human Quaritch, not the Avatar Quaritch. Spider is just a weird character. I don't know. I don't really like him. I feel like his allegiances bounce around way too much. He's loyal to the Na'vi because he's lived with them and he doesn't want to give them up. But at the same time, he's happy enough to like, oh yeah, I'll help you guys learn the ways of the Na'vi instead of trying to like lead them astray or something. He just goes along with it.
Yeah.
Like he could have,
Well, that's
instead of
kinda-
teaching Quaritch and them how to tame the banshees, he could have like took them to a cave with a monster to kill them. Like he could have done anything, you know. He could have just like led them off in a totally different direction. Like their base is over here. You just gotta walk 30 miles into the woods, like you know. But instead, he's
Yeah,
like,
but,
he's
you
like,
know,
oh yeah, this is how
dumb
you
kid
train
do
it.
dumb thing.
Still,
I mean, like he threw Quaritch off a cliff when he was training the Banshees. He's like, oh,
but then he seemed upset that
mention
he
is supposed to-
died, and then he was like happy that he lived. And then there's a scene where they're showing them later in the movie, like a scene of like a hunting scene, and he's just kind of like watching and kind of interested, but also like annoyed by it. But he's like, but then later he's mad about it, and it's just like, make up your mind, kid. Like, do you not appreciate? Like, do you not like these people, or do you like these people? Like,
yeah. They didn't do a very good job of showing it, but I feel like there was a good bit of time that elapsed. Because the wife of the water tribe leader,
yeah,
there's one scene where like she's just suddenly pregnant,
yeah. I think.
and it's like, okay, so there's been a time jump here.
Yeah, because I think in the beginning when she showed up, she didn't have as big of a belly. I think she had a bit of a belly. You could tell. You bring up the water people. That's the part of the movie that I think overstayed its welcome. Like I don't know what you would have necessarily cut, but I think you could have cut down on the amount of time that was spent there, because it's basically just like talking about generic plots. It's just, oh, we moved to a new town and our kids have to get along with the new neighbor kids and they gotta adapt to this new lifestyle. There's like a whole scene where they're like, the kids are getting picked on, then they get into a scuffle, then the dad's like, go apologize, and then the bully kids lead
Lead him to the bad side of town and leave him there.
yeah. It's like, I've seen this before. It gets a little more into like, what's the middle child's name?
Loak.
Loak kind of gets his own little arc with a whale that saves him from the shark thing that the bully kids lured him to, and that develops into more of like into the end fight where like that comes into play later.
Yeah.
There's a lot of focus on Loak being the middle child, like kind of a disappointment. Like Jake's really hard on him. Neteyam, his firstborn, is more like obedient to him, so he has more respect for Neteyam versus Loak, who's more of just like trying to find his place.
I feel like Loak was meant to be the main character of this story.
I mean, he was in a lot of ways. There was a lot of attention to him.
But it was still like Jake Sully is like the guy. Yeah, he's narrating at the beginning and the end. He's having all the big action scenes.
Yeah,
but all of the like story driven moments were all from either about Loak or things that he had done.
Yeah, there's a big focus on the kids, which I don't mind because, like I said, Jake, I like what they did with his character by giving him that, fatherly, protective attitude.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like Jake trying to take down the humans is what's probably going to be the main story throughout these movies. But they don't want to get to that just yet, and they don't really have anything for him to do. So we're going to focus on the kids just kind of living their lives, because Jake's story will be taking down the main threat, but there's nothing for him to do in the meantime. So let's focus on these kids and give them like a bunch of kids stuff to do, basically. I will say I do like the attention to detail. There's just little things that you notice. Like you were saying how her belly gets bigger, the chief's wife, and then there's other things like they point out. Like I didn't notice this in the first movie at all, but the avatars have 5 fingers and normal Na'vi have 4. Like they point that out in this movie, and I didn't know that from the first. I was just like, oh, that's a thing. Like what was confusing though is that Neteyam, their firstborn, has 4 fingers. So I think that's what kept throwing me. Yeah, because like they show him as a baby in the start, and he's got 4 fingers, and then later in the movie you notice he still has 4. So he has more Na'vi blood, I guess, than the others. And this is a weird thing about Sigourney Weaver's character, Grace, her avatar in the first movie had more of a human face. She had more of a human nose.
Yeah.
And then Kiri, right? That's her daughter.
She has the same sort
She
of
has the
like
same kind of
she's
face
got a very
structure. And there's a whole like plot with her too, that she's like connected to Awa somehow. Because like in the first movie when Grace dies, she says how Awa's there with her, and now Kiri can like control nature somewhat. It seems like they're going almost like a Messiah route, like an Anakin Skywalker virgin birth type. Like it's generic storytelling stuff, but in Avatar basically.
This is my least favorite thing about the movie. Is it suffers from like what Game of Thrones does, where there's like 8 different B plots and we just bounce around.
Okay.
We have.
I do think there are too many characters.
Not even the characters. Yes, there's a lot of characters. But
they have all these characters.
Hopefully, you remember more than one name this time.
Yeah, but they're trying to give them all something to do,
Right.
And some of them get more than others. Like Neytiri is like sidelined. She's just kind of there. Like she wants to protect her people and her kids, and Jake's just kind of dragging her along. And she gets some good scenes. Like she's a really good actress, and she's got some great scenes. But like at the same time, it's just like they just have her cry and yell, and they don't give her anything to do.
She was great in the first movie. They cut her down a lot in this movie.
Yeah,
Jake was cut down a lot in this movie.
Yeah, there's a big emphasis on, weirdly enough, the villain, which I appreciate, and then the kids.
Neteyam, his whole arc was him dying at the end.
Which was, they needed to kill some of those kids. There was way too many. I
at
struggle
what point
to remember
in the
their
movie
names.
did you realize that he was going to die?
Around the time of the final fight. I'm like, they're gonna kill one of these. I thought they were gonna go the route and kill Jake. Hang on one sec. Just a stink bug. Of course, when I start recording, bugs start flying around me. Nice. No, I think around the final fight, when he's like rescuing Loak and saying, "Who's the best?" I'm like, he's gonna die. Like,
yes, it was that exact scene. I was like, "Oh, you're dead."
You just signed your death card, you idiot. You shouldn't have said that.
You have reached your character peak.
All he was the protective older brother. That's his character. He didn't have much to do.
That was the entirety of his character. They didn't give him anything to do. They didn't give him any sort of like. Even when they show up to the tribe and they have like the beach watch moment where the chief's daughter is like coming out of the water, like it's cutting from her to Loak.
Yeah, like Loak has this whole plot about being not seen by his dad and feeling like he's a disappointment, and then Kiri can control the environment, and then Took is just the cute little sister.
Yeah, she's the youngest one.
And then Neteyam is just there to die. Like,
yeah,
that's his character.
That was his story, and that bothered me so much.
But they spend a lot of time with the water tribe, which I get it, way of water, but they're there for a long stretch of time where it's just the kids, hanging out. Kiri has a seizure, and the good humans, the scientist guy from the first one, and then the other avatar,
Norm, and I think it's Dr.
Yeah, so they show up to help Kiri with a chopper, and then because of that, Korch figures out that, they went that way, so let's go that way. Which is just kind of a hunch. I mean, granted, take any leads you can get, but once again, they didn't show them trying to track down the forest people at all. They were just kind of fucking hanging out, which, talking about little details that I liked, when Korch says they're going to start acting Na'vi to try to track down Jake, all the evil avatars stop wearing boots and they're all barefoot the rest of the movie, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And there's even a scene where he's walking around the hologram room and you see the general lady like look at his dirty feet as he's walking through. It's like, what do you do? What? She like looks down like, what the fuck? Which, I appreciate the little attention to details because, it's a big CGI effects heavy movie. So to put in those like realistic elements,
which is
her, like paying attention to this detail. Is nice.
There's mud all over my conference floor.
But they go to track down, Jake with the water people. And then we get into this whole subplot where they're killing the whales, like they're whaling. There's this whole thing where Korch takes over a whaling ship with this Aussie captain where they're hunting the whales down. And before I get into that, the whales can speak, which just really confused me because they have
incredibly intelligent creatures.
Yeah, they're intelligent, but they have subtitles, and I just started laughing because it's like, wait a minute, they could just straight up talk. Like the one's like, "Oh, how's your baby doing? Oh, look at your belly's sticking out. Oh, it's so exciting." And it's like, wait, they're just having like a chat. Like these whales are that intelligent, and then these whalers are hunting the whales because their brain juices can just stop human aging. They just throw that in there and then they just move past it as quick as they bring it up. It's like, wait a minute,
Yes.
that's a big plot detail, and the movie's been going for 2 hours now, and you're just bringing this up? Just
Yes.
how quickly they gloss over that kind of stuff. Like, oh, the whales can talk, and oh yeah, their brains can stop us aging, and yeah, let's dump the body. It's like, wait, hang on.
That was the part that got me. Is like, how are they just dumping all of these corpses in the water?
Well, can they eat them?
Like, what
how
is
does
this
that work?
colony eating?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't really go over that kind
Like,
of stuff.
can they not eat the wildlife? If like we've seen them growing plants.
But the whaling scene was like it was done well. The movie's surprisingly violent, which I appreciated. Like, there's people getting shot in the
Yes.
head with arrows and knives being put up to
When
necks.
when
and
the
you see
kids
blood
first
coming down.
get kidnapped,
That's a great scene in the dark with the rain and
and
everything.
like yeah, and Jake just got the axe.
Yeah.
And like that was a great scene.
But like
Um,
Neytiri is just headshotting these guys, like straight up, like arrows into eye
Oh yeah,
sockets.
like
And it's like, oh shit. And even
just Legolas.
at the end, Korch has a knife up to Kiri's neck,
Kiri.
and like there's blood trickling down and everything. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
and
like how a
he,
knife
he
would
cuts
work.
her.
It's like they know how knives work, unlike a movie like Black Panther where they slit a throat and no blood comes out. They kill a whale to anger the water people, and then they capture their kids for the second time, and
Right.
that causes Jake and them to come out. They have the big fight in the water. Then the ship starts sinking. The kids escape, only to be caught again, and they even poke fun at it. But it's like, seriously, how many times are we gonna repeat? Like the kids get captured. They have a standoff. The kids escape. The kids get captured. They have a standoff. It's like it was just repetitive, and it's like, all right, come on, already.
Yeah.
Like, because like by the end of the fight, the whole day was over. Like it was the next day, you know.
Yeah, it was the next day. You watched the sun rise and fall.
Yeah, there's some decent scenes in between there, but it was just like, all right, already. Like you're gonna fight. Oh, they got away. Oh, you're gonna fight some more, and it's like, oh, the ship's sinking now. This kid Spider has an unlimited air mask. That bothered the hell out of me. He never changed that thing
Yeah.
out. He had that thing on underwater, and it never ran out of oxygen.
Because he's
then,
not
like-
wearing a tank.
Well, straight up, 3 characters drown in this movie and don't die.
3 characters do drown.
First is the middle child. He drowns and the whale saves him, and somehow he doesn't die. Like straight up, like bubbles coming out of his mouth, no more bubbles, sinks to the bottom, somehow gets the water out of his lungs. Then Jake has the same thing happen, and Quarch is at the bottom of the ocean drowning, and Spider pulls him out, and he's somehow alive. Like I maybe the Na'vi can consume more water than people, but it's like I think these people should be dead.
They're blue, so they don't.
Yeah, they're blue with red blood, which I didn't remember was a thing, but I guess it can be a thing because lizards have different colored skin and still have red blood. So,
Yeah.
but the
that
movie.
bothered me.
What bothered you? People
That
drowning?
Corch is just like yeah,
Oh.
just like Corch and Jake, 100% just drown. Loak even too during that scene drown.
Yeah, like the
And
only.
it's like, you're fine.
Yeah, it's very confusing. And then like they established earlier that there's like a creature they can attach themselves to that lets them breathe underwater. So they.
Which I'd love to see how that works.
Yeah,
how
they don't.
does-
They just once again they just kind of gloss over that stuff. They're very
Yeah,
quickly
just
just
like,
like
put
yeah,
on
don't
these
think about
fairy
it.
wings and you can breathe underwater.
Yeah, come on, Mom. I really like, Jake basically says to, man, we've said his name a bunch of times, Loak. He says to Loak, like, I see you, son, which I thought was a great scene where it's basically like he's affirming that,
Yeah.
he sees his son, he appreciates his son. Like the whole movie, he's been feeling like his dad doesn't care about him as much as he cares about the others. That was a nice scene. Nice family message. They kill the older brother and they have, a little funeral at the end. And it does bother me at the end, Jake has his whole narration that was like from the first movie that comes back into this one. He has a couple scenes where he narrates and he basically says, this is our home. We're going to make a stand. And it's like, why didn't you make a stand at the Forest Tribe? You're just making a stand now. Like, are you just water people now? Like, it's like, did you just say, fuck the other guys?
Yeah.
And Spider saves Korch. I don't know why. Like, this guy's threatening to kill everyone you know. I get that Neytiri, which was one of the good scenes that she had in the movie, straight up was ready to kill him, a son for a son type of thing.
Yes.
She, cuts him and everything. I was annoyed that they didn't bring that up. Hopefully they'll bring it up in a sequel. He should have issues with
That would
her
be
now.
traumatizing,
Yeah.
right? Like your mother figure, like putting a
Straight
knife
up,
to your
like,
throat.
yeah, I'm going to kill you. Like, if he went with Korch, it would make more sense. Like, now he's scared of them. Like, he's not accepted. But he goes back to them and acts like nothing happened. Like, not Kate. what's her name? Kiri. Fuck, I'm struggling with the names for this. Kiri is like, oh, monkey boy, you're okay. And then she hugs him and they're like, oh, we're all okay. And it's like, I feel like he should be hesitant to go back there because he's like, is she going to just kill me? Like,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
know.
Quartz gets
I don't
away.
know.
But I do have the thought where I'm like, if they just kill him, can they just bring him back again? Like, how's this work?
I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a lot more with Quaritch, like becoming a different individual. He's not going to be Quaritch anymore. He's
Well,
going to be.
they kill his whole squad, except the bald guy. He gets thrown overboard. You don't really see him die.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's dead.
But once again, it's like, is the next movie just going to be like, oh, here's a new batch of them. You got to explain what happened. Being like, hey, you died twice, 3 times, and you're out. Like, you gotta pick up the pace, people.
I would have loved to see more of Jake, because it's always like a smash cut. It's like, here's what the kids are doing, and then, oh, the kids are in trouble, and a smash cut Jack back to what Jake's doing.
I mean, I know what they're doing. This plot's obviously going to be, protect the planet from people.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like we've been talking very negative about the movie. Overall, like, really, I do like it. It's something new. Like, sure, it's a sequel, but it's new.
Yeah,
It's not superheroes and capes. It's something new and different, fun. And for what it is, it's well put together. It's technically impressive as all hell.
On a technical scale, yeah.
And I think that's kind of what the first movie was. It's like this really cool, almost like a tech demo with a pretty generic story, and that's just kind of what this was again.
Yeah, except it never came full circle.
Because it felt repetitive like the first movie. It ends with just like, this is our home. And the first movie ended with like, this is my new home. And it's like, yep, okay, now what? Like, what are you going to do about it? There's rumors for the next
watching
movie.
Something and then seeing the loose ends.
Yeah, and there's
like, no, I have to wait. But none of them were big enough to keep me like anticipated. Like Corge didn't leave with Kiri, and I'm like, oh, now we're gonna wait a year to figure out what happens with that. It's just like, who's Kiri's dad? What is Lorak gonna do? Is Norm gonna be okay? Like, just all sorts of these little stories that they kind of like introduced but did nothing with.
This is a little detached from that, but I wanted to bring it up before I forget about it. I feel like they talked very modern in the movie, like especially the kids. Like they say bro so much, and they almost completely drop the Na'vi language. Like the first movie, they made a whole language for the movie. I
forgot all about it.
And like they only speak Na'vi in this like a couple times. Like there's a scene very early on the start of the movie. I don't know if you saw this. You might have been still buying tickets. The kids are arguing in Na'vi, and Jake says something, because the whole beginning bit, they're all speaking Na'vi with like the dialogue over the top of Jake narrating.
Yeah.
And he says, I've been speaking Na'vi for so long, it's basically English. And the kids are arguing in Na'vi, and then it just cuts to them speaking English. So it's like Jake listening to them, and all he hears is like English now. So that was like how they transitioned to English. And there's one nice little detail. When Corch captures the kids the first time, they're speaking Na'vi when he grabs them, and then he's like, oh, I don't speak English, and he starts speaking Na'vi, but then they drop it again. They just go straight to English, So that was a little weird, that they didn't really take advantage of like a whole, like, because James Cameron made up a language. He made up a Na'vi language, for the movie, and they just don't utilize that.
And it was weird, like, when they were in the beach city, I don't know.
Yeah.
When they were with the Water Tribe, and the only time that they spoke Na'vi is when they were talking, like, when it became very formal. Then they would do like a switch.
Like the only parts that they had like a native language was for the whales. Like it was just like, oh, we can speak sign language, and the whales just go. And it's like, oh, how are you today, dear sir? It's like, wait, what? I don't know.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was fun.
I enjoyed it. I'm probably enjoy it more when I see the other 4 that come out.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're doing, because there's been some rumors for the next one, and like they're gonna go visit the Fire Tribe, and it's like, what is it? They just gonna bebop around the different tribes and just like, is that how these movies?
Well, this
are gonna
one is gonna be is like unite the planet to fight humans.
Yeah, because how this one ended, it's just like, oh, they're water people now. It's like, are they just gonna stay here? All these movies are gonna be set around the ocean now, or like what? Because like personally for me, I like the forest setting a lot more. I would have preferred to be there. Like the water stuff is cool and all, but it's like, it's not really for me,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But overall, out of most movies that came out last year, it was one of the better ones, and I would definitely like recommend checking it out. It's cool. Even if the story is really generic, it's like, it's something different and interesting. It's fun.
Yeah, it's good. Like you said, on a technical scale, it's great. Like you were saying, all the textures of everything is better than what Avatar was, and it was incredible when it came out, and it's even better now.
I mean, to the sequel to your favorite movie of all time, were you disappointed?
I was less disappointed than I was with Let There Be Carnage,
Okay.
if that counts for anything.
Yeah.
No, I'm not disappointed. I try not to go into things with expectations.
Yeah.
But I would have liked more. I would have liked it to be a little more cleaned up. But I mean, like I said, hopefully they'll cover that in the next couple movies.
But would you recommend The Way of Water, Zach?
Of course I would.
Would you say it's as good as the first movie, your favorite movie of all time?
No, no, I wouldn't say it was as good.
But you would say that Avatar is your favorite movie of all time, right?
Yet to say it.
But it's your favorite movie ever, right?
It's in my top 5.
Well, anyway, that's about it for this. Thanks for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as you enjoyed The Way of Aqua. But yeah, that's about it.
Bye.
There we go. I was waiting for you.